Now, we talked about Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and the traditional multiplayer that they had a beta for, where, of course, you and a bunch of teammates go against other people and things like deathmatch, or, of course, they have objective-based stuff. And overall, I said it felt kind of uninspired and really didn't feel that different from something like, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. So the thing that I kept pointing to that could save Call of Duty Black Ops 4 essentially was the Battle Royale mode that they are calling Blackout. Now, the beta did launch today on the PS4, and I spent several hours playing it and just seeing what it was all about and if it was something that could possibly save Black Ops 4, considering there's not going to be a single player, for example. They seem to be focusing on the three modes of zombies, traditional multiplayer, and then this Battle Royale mode. So today we're going to talk a bit about it, what I like so far, what I don't like, and what I think needs improvement. But I will at least say this could be what actually saves Call of Duty, because it's not bad. So this is, as a lot of the gaming media, and I guess even technically Activision and Treyarch are saying, this is the first real AAA Black Ops or Battle Royale that they are doing with Black Ops. And this is an interesting situation because most of the time Battle Royale comes out and it is early access. We saw that with something like PUBG, where despite them selling it, it was still technically advertised as not being completely ready out of beta, out of early access. And they went along for a while like that, and I guess because it was really the first one, it didn't really matter. It still sold tons. It even launched on the Xbox One technically as early access, and recently they left early access. But this is the first time, I guess, a big Battle Royale game or a Battle Royale mode from a game like a Black Ops will launch straight up. They won't have an early access. They've had this beta, and that's mostly, I think, to stress test their servers, see where they are, or just see how the player count matches up to the map that they're pushing. But this is it. This is going to be the first real Battle Royale mode that has a big studio behind it that is launching not at all in early access. And after playing it, I think this is going to be the game that would pull mostly from PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, rather than something like Fortnite. In fact, I don't really know if this is going to pull a large audience of Fortnite, but I can see this game kind of showing up and really grabbing the attention of a lot of PUBG fans. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, the way it looks and tries to take a more realistic approach as opposed to Fortnite, which takes a more cartoony and sensational approach. This is closer to PUBG, where it is like straight up and it's more realistic looking and it's more realistic feeling. I guess you could say realistic to a degree with PUBG because the frame rate issues, the bugs, everything else around it. But it's very clear that this is kind of going towards the direction of PUBG rather than Fortnite. So while I'm sure people will compare Blackout to something like a Fortnite, I would more so compare it to something like a PUBG. And that is where Blackout will shine, because what this is essentially is just a better PUBG. Like, it's just a more optimized PUBG. It has less bugs and glitches and stuff in it. And overall, even the gunplay just feels better. Also, of course, this won't be free. Fortnite's free, so there you go. This is something that's going to be packaged in to a $60 price tag that will, of course, include this, the multiplayer, and the zombies mode. So, looking at this is going to be a first-person Battle Royale game. Of course, Fortnite is third-person, for example. PUBG, of course, can also, I guess, be third-person and everything. So this seems like it's not really as much of a Fortnite competitor as you would believe originally. Now, I did play this on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and looking at it, I think it looked pretty good for having 80 people in one massive map. Of course, on the Xbox One X and the PC, it will look better, but I wasn't blown away by, like, their multiplayer visuals, so I'm definitely not blown away by the visuals here. I think it's probably the best-looking Battle Royale game, and of course, that could also be objective than maybe you like the way Fortnite looks, but if you're going for a more realistic approach, this does look better in something like a PUBG, for example, or an H1Z1. And it makes sense because this is a large studio behind Treyarch and Activision that's creating this game, so we would expect the visuals at least to be like the best that's out there right now to offer. So during my time, I played solo, and then I kind of caught up with Max, Dreamcast guy, and we played for a while and had really a lot of fun. And there were some things that I did notice that we kind of had a hard time with. For example, we kind of had a hard time pinpointing where gunfire was coming from. Even the helicopter noise, which should be, I guess, easier because it's very loud and directional. We should be able to pick that out, but we seem to have a hard time figuring out where people were shooting from or things like that. It might be because we were using kind of the headphones from the headphone jack on the controller for the PS4, and it seemed to put like audio in one ear, but we definitely were like running in circles when we'd hear gunfire, just trying to look for anything. I almost feel like their audio cues might need some tinkering. Again, that could be why the beta even exists. Now, the map itself, it definitely includes several locations. They pretty much told us that from like the history of Call of Duty. So of course, you're gonna see things like Nuketown, for example. And that was like one of the first ones I pointed out. I was like, oh, let's jump to Nuketown. And that's something they said was gonna happen. And one thing I have to give them credit for, they really did a good job blending what are essentially multiplayer maps together in one big continent that you run around in a Battle Royale mode. Like, they flow together really easily, and you're going to be running around and you're going to notice different points of interest that remind you of things from even like Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2. They really did go through like the entire history of Call of Duty and jam it all into one map, which is actually really neat to see kind of in person when you're playing, because you will just kind of point out and be like, oh, I remember playing that, you know, like 8 years ago or something, back when, you know, when Modern Warfare or whatever, when that was really big. I remember playing on that map. Here it is now as just kind of a point of interest in the big Battle Royale map. Now, the time to kill is still the same. You still have 150 health. And when I was playing this as opposed to the traditional deathmatch multiplayer, it makes a lot more sense here. In fact, I have to imagine that this is the mode they really want to push because, of course, they know how popular Battle Royale is. So the time to kill makes a ton of sense here, because if it was traditional Call of Duty time where you get like mowed down very quickly, you're going to get frustrated because there's no way to really survive getting hit a few times in like the traditional Call of Duty downs you. Whereas in this one, you have a bit more slack when it comes to that. So if you're running from building to building and you get pegged a few times, you still have like half your health. And it's up to you, of course, to find bandages or different things around, like med kits, to heal yourself up from there. There's no regenerating health, as we'd expect, but the time to kill fits in way better here. I'll be curious if Treyarch, Activision, take a look at that and say, okay, it makes sense in the Battle Royale mode, but maybe people live a little too long in kind of the traditional deathmatch multiplayer mode, and that's something maybe they'll play around with. But I feel like the time to kill is higher, the amount of health is higher, specifically because of this mode existing. The weapons are pretty straightforward. You'll kind of run around. You might need to know, I guess, a bit as to what each weapon does. It does at least tell you about the ammo that you have on the bottom right, whether you're using like 336 millimeter or you're using shotgun shells or rockets for a rocket launcher. There are no tiers for weapons. Like, for example, when you're playing Fortnite, you'll get like a green, a blue, a purple. None of that is here. It's just straight up. You grab the gun, you grab your ammo, which is all separate, and you go. Now, they also have other things, healing items, for example. Gadgets are in here, which was interesting. Max picked up a grappling hook at one point and was jetting around on the buildings, which is pretty cool. They also have attachments like scopes or grips for your guns that you grab. And then there are also perks. This was really cool. They have different perks laying around that will do things like let you see your teammates through walls or things like that. It's pretty cool to be able to pick up all these different things and then try to survive with them. The perks, that's the thing that kind of caught me off guard. I really like the idea of that. And then, of course, finding an ACOG scope for your SCAR or whatnot. Very neat to have that as well. And if you pick that up and it's compatible with your gun, it will pretty much just throw it right on there while you're moving. There's no like stop and go through your inventory, but I will at least give them credit. The inventory is fairly well done, and you can jump around it pretty easily. You can press up on the D-pad, for example, and it'll just throw you in, and you can look at what you have very quickly. It's like a quick equip is what they call it, and it works well kind of out in the field, so you're not stuck in a menu and then you get shot up real quick. They made it so you can jump in and out of your inventory pretty fast. One other quality of life improvement that I noticed was when you're looking at the map, underneath of that is a meter that shows how far ahead of the edge of the circle that you are. Of course, in these Battle Royale modes, a circle, in Fortnite, for example, it's a big storm, will keep closing in, and the idea there is that as people drop out, it will push you together so that the map gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's basically you're standing next to each other, and then that way you'll have one person either way, whether everyone like dies in the storm or, of course, you gun each other down. I like that meter a lot, actually, and I'm hoping that games like a Fortnite or a PUBG see that and they incorporate that. That was really neat. That was one that kind of had that aha moment where I'm like, oh, I don't have to look at the map to see how far I am from the edge. I can just look at that meter that pops up as it's closing in, and it tells me how far away I am from the edge. Something that caught both of us, myself and Max, because it ended up costing us a match, is that there appear to be environmental hazards. And what I mean by that is there are zombies in this. We actually were running through and we run into what looked like a zombie map from an older Call of Duty, and then boom, zombies burst through the wall, and they do a lot of damage to me. They end up wiping Max. I end up killing the zombies and everything, going to revive Max, and then we get wiped out by a couple of people who are in a group. But it was really cool. I mean, this is a neat idea for Battle Royale. Kind of have just like zombies, or I don't know, maybe they could even have just enemies from like a game type or something, like NPC characters controlled by the computer that can do damage to you or catch you off guard. But I think there should be a give and take here, and I'm curious if there is, since when we were fighting those zombies, they were taking a lot of hits. It was not easy. I was shotgunning them over and over again, and they were still coming. I ended up taking them down, but it was not easy. It took away a good chunk of my life, and it actually just wiped Max completely because he got caught off guard. But what I'm thinking of give or take is that there is something there. There's a reason to go there. Like maybe there is a really powerful weapon or a great perk, or just a reason to go to this this part of the map and really, or I guess risk your entire game trying to get there. Now, we ran away, so if there is like a loot box or something that is above that maybe that second story past all the zombies, that would be cool. Something you open up and boom, there's like this really powerful sniper rifle or something that'll help you try to win the game. That is a really cool idea. I love the environmental hazards, and it was just crazy to run through and boom, zombies burst through the wall at us. It was just a really neat moment that happened kind of like spontaneous, just out of nowhere. Let me talk about some of the things I would like to see happen with this mode, or things that they can improve on. The player count has to go up. I think the map is a little too big for the amount of people there. 80 people seems like a lot, but the map, the map is really big. And even though it is technically 20 more people, I do think that would help like round out just the amount of people there and kind of make it feel a little more crowded. I mean, that is technically 10 more teams of 2 being added in, and I think that would just help a little bit, because there were times where we were running around, we just weren't finding anyone. You've probably seen some footage of us running. A lot of it was spent running. We ended up getting in like the top 10, I guess 10 people left, and we didn't find anyone. It was just because we were running around, and we just happened to not run into anyone. And I would like to see them do, like, they were talking about up to 115 people. I actually think the map could handle that. They could go past the 100-person limit, and I would heavily welcome that. I think that would be awesome to see. I would like to see some sort of, there's no real leveling system or progression system that we saw. We played for a while and I didn't level up once or anything, so I don't know if they turned off experience for this, but I'm sure, because it's Activision and Blizzard, that they will jam loot boxes in some way. I assume it's going to be all cosmetic stuff, because I don't know how you can add in any kind of leveling that gives you advantages in the game for a survival style game like a Battle Royale. But other games have it, and yeah, I guess they'll probably jam loot boxes in. This will be a case, though, where it will probably be all cosmetic, with emblems, hats, gear, things that just make your character look different, you know, like Fortnite. Also, I want to see more game types, and the big one that I really want is like a 40v40 or a 50v50. I actually like that mode in Fortnite a lot, and I think it's really fun because, of course, your team is very large then, and you will spend more time in that game kind of fighting back and forth against the other team of 40 or 50, and that would be a really cool game type that they could incorporate. There are vehicles and stuff. I could see all kinds of cool stuff happening with that many people on one map in a Call of Duty-like game. So that's something I hope they do. I know we did duos, we did quads, but to have like a 50v50 if they get to 100, or I guess in this case a 40v40, would be awesome. I guess the real question is, will this make the game feel worth it for like $60 to go out and buy? And if you're already sold on the multiplayer, you really don't need me to tell you that, yeah, it's worth the money. But if you weren't sold on the multiplayer, you're not really sure about zombies, but maybe you do like PUBG, yeah, you probably would buy this for the $60. Now, I'm curious what they do with the loot boxes and stuff, but as it stands now, this is probably going to end up being the best realistic Battle Royale style game, okay? It probably will be. I think a lot of the Fortnite crowd is going to come over, but not all of it. I think definitely a ton of the PUBG crowd. I think a lot of the PUBG crowd is going to come over, whereas less of the Fortnite crowd will come over. The realistic approach really does work with Call of Duty and Battle Royale, and I liked it. I had fun. It was a fun game type. I don't know if I would play it all the time, and I don't know if it'd be my multiplayer game of choice going forward, but I do see a lot of fans of Battle Royale be very interested, and I think a lot of people will buy in to this game type at $60. But Will they sell things like DLC and splinter the fan base? That's something we'll have to see when it comes to this. I would hope that this would just be something that they would incorporate their cosmetic loot boxes, their battle pass and stuff in for seasons or something. It is a $6 game though, so how about we just work on the map and update it and stuff. This would be more of a live service type thing, but we'll see what happens here, guys. I will say that was a lot of fun, and if you're curious, you can always pre-order the game and cancel if you don't like it or something and try this out for yourself. If you already had the multiplayer beta, you can go update it and try it out yourself. Let me know what you guys think so far about this beta. If you've already played it, let me know down below. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys in the next video.